the way, if it take you back, the way that project worked was we didn't have enough resources around transition. We
Yeah.
didn't have enough insight around transition and what that looks like. So with the Men's World Cup coming up, we thought, and this was a collaboration with ourselves and the Game Insights team, using professional judgment and then linking in with a couple of coach developers who work across the senior game. It was okay, let's use the World Cup as a stimulus.
Yeah.
Now, bearing in mind here, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but very few of us are lucky to be working at that level. So we're very aware, and we make no secrets that this is information from the very, very top level of the game.
Mm.
Now, think about what that might mean for you, but this is what we have access to, and this is what we're going to use.
Yeah.
So some of the key things in there was, well, how often does it happen? Do we actually know how often transition occurs? And as a result, are coaches preparing for a transition within their practices?
Mm.
So, for example, if you're doing a build the attack session, then predominantly you see a lot of play starting from goal kicks.
Yeah.
We know that 5% of possessions start from a goal kick. 5. So that's 1 in 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas around 70% start from transition. So that's telling me, well, that's what we should be working on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, that 5% is still valuable. There's no doubt about that.
Mm.
But actually, can we make sure that we're incorporating transition into practice?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so that was telling us that this is important. Can we help coaches, first of all, recognize that and go, okay, that's a lot. We need to be working on this, but then build that knowledge base. So
Mm.
next step then was, well, where does it occur the most? And we see it occurs the most in the mid third. No surprise, really. But then 20% occur in the attacking third.
Mm.
And although that's the lowest, but actually that's where you could have a big impact. If
Yeah.
you can transition in the attacking third, you're much closer to the opposition's goal. You're more likely to create a goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
So then it's just when coaches are working in different areas of the pitch, are they taking these things into consideration?
Yeah.
And then we drilled even deeper into that. And we looked and we found that actually half the time, this is at the top level, I think it was 52% of the time, when a team gets the ball back from a transition, they lose it within 5 seconds.
Oh,
Or
okay.
they might not lose it within 5 seconds, but another transition happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it might be they've had it for 3 seconds, they get tackled, it then comes loose. So
Mm.
that's control possession,
Yeah.
which for me was fascinating. And when we disseminated that to the senior game team, they couldn't believe it.
Mm.
So that was then telling us, well, that's important. So we need players, we need skillful players who are able to recognize recognize when a transition might occur. So then you can be secure behind the ball to land on it or minimize the risk of getting countered. You need players who can actually tackle and intercept to allow that transition to happen. But then when you've won the ball back, you need players who are able to recognize, can I play forward? If not, am I able to keep possession of the ball? So it just opened up all of these doors for us. And I was going, okay, what's really important here? And who's it really important to? Because
Mm.
that last stuff um, is very player based.
Yeah.
But if you look at the blogs, we then split things into it's almost like a series of blogs, really,
Mm.
finishing with sort of top tips for coaching transition. So
Yeah.
here's the insight, here's some more insight, here's how it might look. But if we're not able to apply that as coaches, it's just interesting information.
Yeah.
It's no use to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interest, no use. So, and we appreciate that a lot of coaches will be able to pick up that information and apply it, but some might need a little bit more support.
Mm.
Important for us just to scaffold that learning as well and make sure that, yeah, we're giving things in the way that they need.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, because you say you've broken down. I think the ones I've got open here are kind of you've broken it into the thirds: defensive, middle, and attacking, and then, like I say, actually applying that into as a coach, applying that into your sessions. Another one that's actually not related to transitions, Dan, that I noticed, which I did actually find quite interesting, was the one coming alive when the ball goes dead. It was like about the time in the game and how much time spent on like the average time to take a corner and stuff like that, which was quite interesting to actually see the data behind the World Cup games, which was a middle note here. So you've got 4 minutes of time per England game was kind of spent on waiting on corners, effectively with 39 seconds each, which is quite interesting. And obviously, in the World Cup, it was kind of prevalent of long added time and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really interesting, and it's kind of something that we're seeing in the Premier League now as well, with more at a time.
Yeah, and as a result, what are coaches and players doing with that time.
Mm.
So let's stop seeing it as dead time. That might be an opportunity to get some messages into your players,
Yeah.
or an opportunity to speak to your subs or whatever it is.
Mm.
So you can still observe the game, but you're actually using that time for
Yeah.
something. And yeah, certainly with the rule changes, that's what's changing quite a bit.
Yeah.
If I can just go back on the transition stuff
Yeah,
there,
yeah, definitely.
The interesting thing, we put all of this together, and then it was very insight driven. But you've probably heard of the FA6 capabilities. So we talk a lot about developing skillful players.
Yeah.
And so it might be looking at their timing, etc. So what we did was we pulled in a fantastic coach developer called Vicky Fisher, who works across the grassroots space.
Yeah.
I just sat down with Vicky and we looked and said, well, what's important for grassroots coaches here? And we've then gone, okay, 6 capabilities. Let's have a look at those and look at the before, during, and after. And we put together a resource for each of the 6 capabilities.
Yeah.
So now coaches can go to that and go, okay, I want to focus on my players' positioning when it comes to transition. So how do they position yourself before transition is going to occur, which will help them anticipate and recognize when it might happen. And then what position do they have to take up to enable them to go and nick it? And then afterwards, is it a position to get forward with the ball, or is it a position to be secure behind to avoid that counter press? So that, I think that was really interesting and a good way of showing how we can have one resource. And I think we used to be guilty of creating a resource specific for a course.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're creating one resource, which we're hoping will appear in lots of different places, slightly tweaked just to appeal and pitch to the right level of learner. We hope that that's something that certainly over the next year or so you'll start to see more of.